I am 31 years old, and this is the moment I finally accepted that being family doesn't guarantee being valued. Sometimes, the people who raised you are the first ones to teach you how to disappear. The weekend was supposed to be a peaceful retreat. A break from work, from stress, from city noise. I had helped book a suite at Cedar Hollow Lodge, a quiet mountain resort tucked beneath amber-colored ridgelines and pine forests. It was my idea, my suggestion. I'd even contributed over $2,100 to the reservation when my mother mentioned it might be a tight month. But I didn't mind helping. I never did. The drive-up took almost 3 hours. My little forest green hatchback struggled up the winding slopes, but I was hopeful. Optimistic, even. It had been years since we all spent time together, and I told myself maybe this time would be different. Maybe this time, I'd feel like I belonged. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you've ever felt like the outsider in your own family. And tell me, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. I know I'm not the only one who's been made to feel replaceable. I pulled into the gravel parking lot of the resort just after 4 in the afternoon. The sun was beginning to dip, casting long gold streaks through the pines. I saw the familiar silver-gray Volvo parked near the entrance, my parents' car. And next to it, the lifted black truck I recognized instantly as my brother's, Marcus. He was leaning against the tailgate, laughing loudly with our mom. My father stood at the lodge doors, holding them open as they all talked and laughed, ready to begin their relaxing weekend. My heart lifted. It had been a long week, a long few years really, and I was looking forward to just existing. Just being Elise, the daughter, the sister. Not the planner, the fixer, the lender. I waved through the windshield, hoping one of them would notice. They didn't. I parked and stepped out, grabbing my duffel bag from the back seat. I walked toward the lodge, hoping they were waiting for me at the elevator or checking in. But as I reached the front steps, I paused. Through the tall glass doors, I saw it. The elevator doors were just closing. Inside, Marcus stood with our parents, luggage beside them. They hadn't waited. They hadn't even turned to see if I was behind them. Alone in the lobby, I approached the front desk. The woman behind the counter, young, smiling, professional, welcomed me cheerfully. "Good afternoon. Welcome to Cedar Hollow. Do you have a reservation with us?" "Yes," I replied, offering my phone. "Elise Larkin. The reservation should be under my name. I have the confirmation here." She typed quickly and scanned the QR code. Her smile faltered slightly, her eyebrows pulling together in a concerned frown. "I'm so sorry, Ms. Larkin, but this reservation shows as canceled." I stared at her. "No, that's not possible. I paid for part of it 2 months ago." She turned the screen slightly. "It looks like the primary guest removed your name from the booking 2 days ago. Wednesday at 3:12 p.m. My stomach dropped. "They removed me?" The agent nodded, clearly uncomfortable. "It says the booking was changed and your guest access was canceled at that time. I'm really sorry." I didn't speak. I couldn't. My hands started to tremble slightly. I looked toward the elevator that had taken my family away from me, up to a suite I had helped pay for. Already laughing, already relaxing, as if I had never existed in their plans. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus lit up the screen. "Nothing new for you, Elise. Always the odd one out. Enjoy the drive home." I read it twice. The words burned in my chest like acid. The front desk agent cleared her throat gently. "Would you like me to check availability for a single room tonight? We do have a few left." I didn't answer her. Instead, I typed a quiet reply to Marcus. "Enjoy your stay." I hit send, walked calmly out of the lobby, and sat in my car without turning the engine on. Inside the silence of my car, I felt it all crashing down. 7 years ago, when I was just 24, my parents came to me in tears. They were trying to buy their dream home, a craftsman-style house near the lake, but they were short on the down payment. Banks wouldn't approve their loan without more equity up front. They needed help, and I was their help. I'd just started my job in digital marketing, had been promoted twice in 1 year, and saved every penny. I offered them $89,000, my entire savings account. They were grateful. So grateful. In return, we drafted and signed a co-ownership agreement. I owned 20% of the property. My name was on the deed. We had it notarized, signed by witnesses. Legally binding. After that, I became the household safety net. I set up their mortgage autopays under my account. I covered their utilities, their Netflix, their Amazon Prime. I created a shared emergency savings account under my name and filled it with extra cash over the years. $46, $117 total by last winter. I paid $6,000 for Marcus's DUI lawyer when he couldn't afford the fees. I gave my mother $2,700 for a dental crown that wasn't covered by insurance. When my father's truck broke down, it was another $3,500 from my pocket. They said they'd pay me back. They never did. They promised next month. Then the next. Always the next. I pulled out my phone and opened the emergency savings account app. Balance, $46,117.12. My finger hovered over the screen. I took a deep breath and clicked transfer funds. To Elise Larkin, personal checking. Amount all. 3 seconds later, it was done. Then I drove to my parents' now empty house. I didn't take anything. I didn't touch a single item. But I walked through the home office where my father kept their documents, opened drawers, and photographed every legal agreement. My 20% deed ownership, the loan amounts, the original down payment transfer. I scanned everything. If they wanted a legal war, I'd come armed with truth. Then I went home. I didn't cry. I ordered takeout, orange chicken, steamed rice, and sat in my small apartment kitchen with my laptop glowing softly. The family group chat I had muted years ago pinged with new messages. A photo from Marcus. The sweet fireplace glowing, mountains in the background, wine glasses on the table. Finally, a relaxing vacation. No drama. No dead weight. Dead weight. That was me. I took a screenshot and saved it to a folder labeled evidence. Then I opened new tabs. Legal websites. Property law forums. Co-ownership rights in our state. One phrase stood out. A co-owner of residential property may file a petition for partition or reclaim occupancy rights with 72 hours written notice. It was Friday night. If I filed on Monday, I could issue a legal eviction notice by Thursday morning. I leaned back, stared at the ceiling, and thought of all the times I'd been called ungrateful when I asked for my money back. All the birthdays they forgot. All the holidays I wasn't invited to. They never saw me as part of the family. Only part of the solution. But not anymore. Up at Cedar Hollow, they had no idea what was coming. Marcus was pouring wine into 3 glasses. My mother was admiring the mountains glowing gold outside the balcony. My father hung up his jacket and collapsed into the plush chair near the fireplace. I feel a little bad about Elise, my mother said softly. My father shrugged. She'll understand. She always does. She didn't even text back, Marcus said, smirking. She's fine. They clinked glasses, ordered more room service, and basked in their temporary victory. They had no idea I had drained the emergency fund, filed a refund request for the sweet deposit, and collected every legal document proving my ownership. They believed they had won. But they were standing on a foundation I built. Saturday morning, Marcus opened his banking app. It was a habit. What he saw made him sit straight up. Emergency fund balance, $0. He blinked. Refreshed. Again. Again. Then the transaction appeared. Transfer to Elise Larkin, $46,117.12. He bolted out of bed. He shoved his phone into our dad's face. She took everything. My mother appeared from the bathroom. She can't just do that. She owns the account, Marcus said, his voice cracking. We're just added users. As they panicked, I sat at a cafe nestled near the base of the mountain, drinking my second cup of tea. The sun hit the windows just right. My phone buzzed again. Marcus, put the money back. Now. Marcus, you're ruining our trip. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my email and finalized the refund claim for my original deposit. The amount was reversed, flagged as an unauthorized cancellation. The resort's billing system had no choice but to bill Marcus. By 10 a.m., the resort contacted him. Total due, $4,580. Their cards declined. One after another. Only my mother's retirement card worked. Their peaceful trip was falling apart. Back home, more systems began to fail. The smart thermostat tried to auto-renew but failed. Internet disconnected. Security system, alert sent. Payment failed. Deactivation in 72 hours. Even the garage app expired, leaving the door half open. Mrs. Denver sent a text. Your garage has been open all night. Everything okay? My mother panicked. Marcus refused to drive 3 hours. They were stranded in luxury, powerless. And I was just getting started. Sunday morning arrived like fog, quiet, slow, and heavy with the weight of everything unspoken. I woke early, stretched, and made myself breakfast in my tiny apartment, a fried egg, toast, and a strong cup of coffee. Then I sat down at the table and opened my laptop. The file I had created the night before was still open. A PDF of the property deed, stamped with the county seal, and my name clearly listed as a co-owner. Beneath it, I had saved screenshots of every loan, every payment I had made on behalf of my family, every bank transfer with dates and amounts. Neatly organized, bulletproof. I wasn't acting out of anger anymore. That had faded. This was strategy. This was closure. By mid-morning, I dressed in jeans, a black wool coat, and low boots. Simple. Clean. Calm. I didn't wear makeup. I didn't need armor. I got in my car and started the drive back to Cedar Hollow Lodge. Meanwhile, inside Suite 207, my family was unraveling. Marcus was pacing near the fireplace, phone clenched in his hand. My father sat in silence, staring at his banking app. My mother was on speakerphone with the credit card company, trying to understand why every card had suddenly maxed out. The resort manager had already called them that morning. The suite payment has reversed, he explained. A chargeback was filed. We'll need an updated payment method by 4 p.m. today. None of their cards would cover the new total. Only my mother's retirement visa, the one she swore she wouldn't touch, had any room left. And even that barely covered it. They were trapped inside a luxury suite they couldn't afford, funded by a woman they had treated like a mistake. I arrived at the resort at 1:05 p.m. and walked straight through the front lobby. The receptionist gave me a hesitant smile, recognizing me from the day before. I stepped up to the desk calmly. "I'm here to retrieve my personal belongings from Suite 207, I said. Marcus appeared near the staircase almost immediately, like a storm brewing in denim and arrogance. "You're lying," he snapped. "Nothing of yours is in that suite." I ignored him and placed my printed receipt on the counter. I booked this suite. Paid $2,160. I was removed without notification. That makes this a dispute. I have a right to access what's mine. The front desk agent glanced at the manager's office. Moments later, Mr. Callahan, the resort manager, stepped out. He reviewed the information silently. "It does show a preliminary check-in under your name at 3:06 p.m. on Friday," he said. Then the booking was modified by another guest less than an hour later. He turned to Marcus. "She is entitled to enter and retrieve her belongings. I'll escort both of you," he added. Marcus tried to argue, but the manager raised his hand. "This is not negotiable." We rode the elevator in silence. My pulse didn't quicken. I didn't shake. I had prepared for this. The suite door opened. My mother looked up from the sofa. Her wine glass slipped slightly in her hand. My father stood near the dining table, phone to his ear. He froze when he saw me. "Elise," my mother asked, "what are you doing here?" Without answering, I walked into the master bedroom, stepped into the closet, and pulled out a small navy duffel bag, one I had placed in the trunk of my car before they ever arrived. I wanted proof that I had reason to be there. Then I turned and handed my father a sealed white envelope. He took it carefully, frowning as he opened it. His eyes scanned the first page. And then they widened. "What is this?" he whispered. "A legal notice," I replied, my voice level. "I'm reclaiming occupancy of the property we co-own. You have until Thursday morning to vacate." My mother rushed over, reading over his shoulder. Her face drained of color. This is an eviction notice." "Elise, you're evicting us?" "Yes," I said. Marcus slammed his palm against the wall. "You're doing this because of a vacation? Grow the hell up." I turned to face him, unflinching. "No. I'm doing this because you called me dead weight. Because you used me for 7 years and threw me away like I didn't matter." My father tried to pull authority back into his voice. "You can't do this. We'll take you to court." I held up a manila folder from my bag. "Then bring this with you," I said. He opened it slowly, seeing notarized copies of the deed, bank statements, loan agreements, and transaction records. "You want war?" I asked him quietly. "You'll lose." I kept everything. No one moved. My family had always known me as the quiet one, the helper, the good daughter. But they didn't realize I had stopped being her years ago. I just hadn't told them yet. I turned and walked out. Marcus chased me into the hallway. "This is petty," he hissed. I pressed the elevator button. "No," I replied calmly. Petty was canceling my trip behind my back and pretending I didn't exist. This is justice." Back in the suite, panic took hold. My father sat heavily on the armrest of the couch, clutching the eviction notice. My mother buried her face in her hands. Marcus muttered curses under his breath, pacing like a caged animal. They called a lawyer friend, Richard Dean, a real estate attorney who owed my dad a favor. "Tell us what to do," my dad begged. Richard was quiet for a long moment. "If her name is on the deed and she issued a legal notice, she has rights. You either buy her out or agree to sell the property." My mother whispered, "How much to buy her out?" "Well," Richard sighed, 20% of the current property value. What's the house worth now?" My father replied, "About $415,000. Then minimum $83,000. But if she adds in the $27,000 in unpaid loans? Interest? You're looking closer to $110,000. Silence. "We don't have that," my mother whispered. "Then you'll need to negotiate. Or prepare to leave." They drove home Monday morning and found the house cold and lifeless. The thermostat was offline. The Wi-Fi was disconnected. The smart garage was stuck open. The gas company required a new account setup, with a deposit. The water company wouldn't reactivate without Elisa's authorization, or a court order. Every bill was tied to my cards. And I was no longer paying. My father made the embarrassing calls, giving his information for new accounts and reading off credit card numbers. Some declined. One barely worked. The systems returned, but the ease was gone. The house no longer felt like home. Tuesday, apartment searches began. But no landlord wanted to approve a household with bad credit, no savings, and a legal eviction pending. Hotels were expensive. Marcus's apartment had no room. My mother suggested moving in with her sister 2 states away, a suggestion that made my father physically flinch. Humiliation was creeping in. By Wednesday evening, desperation set in like rot. At 4:50 p.m., my father drove to my office. I spotted him waiting near the parking lot exit. When I walked out, he approached like someone walking on glass. "Elise," he said softly. "Please." I stopped but didn't speak. "We didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't know Marcus had canceled your reservation. I should have called. I failed you. I'm sorry." He swallowed hard. "Just tell me what you want. We can work something out." I looked him in the eye. "I want you to know how it feels to be treated like an afterthought." His face fell. "You're not an afterthought. You're our family." I shook my head. "No. I was your fallback. Your wallet. Your emergency fund. We'll pay you back. Every penny. Just give us time." I asked him, "With what money?" He looked away. "You had 7 years," I said. "You used them up." I opened my car door. "It's too late." Thursday morning arrived crisp and silent. I pulled into the driveway at 7:49 a.m. A locksmith waited on the porch, toolbox beside him. At 8:01 a.m., my father opened the front door in flannel pajamas and tired eyes. "We need more time," he whispered. The locksmith shook his head and showed the court order. Eviction notice expired at 8 a.m. "I have to proceed." My mother stood behind him in tears. "Elise, please," she begged. "Not like this." Marcus stepped forward, fuming. "You're humiliating us." I stepped calmly onto the porch. "You humiliated me when you removed me from the family weekend like I didn't exist. This is the consequence." The locksmith started drilling. The door lock gave way with a shriek of metal. Mrs. Denvers across the street stood frozen by her mailbox. Neighbors peeked through curtains. My father whispered, "We'll fight this in court. You can't get away with this." I handed him another folder. "Petition lawsuit. Filed on Tuesday. You'll be served next week." My mother opened it and gasped. "This forces us to sell the house." I nodded. "Yes. And I'll take my 20%. Plus the unpaid loans. Legally. Transparently." The locksmith replaced the lock and handed me 3 brass keys. "All yours," he said. Marcus stood rigid, fists clenched. "This is illegal," he growled. "I'm calling the cops." I stepped aside. "Go ahead." 10 minutes later, a patrol car pulled up. The officer reviewed the paperwork. The ID. The deed. After a long pause, he turned to my parents. "She has legal standing," he said. "You need to vacate." My mother broke down, sobbing into her hands. My father quietly packed a suitcase. Marcus loaded it into the Volvo. Before he closed the trunk, my father looked back at me. "I loved you," he said softly. "You were my daughter." I didn't flinch. "No," I replied. "I was your backup plan. And I'm done." The officer waited as they pulled away. Then he tipped his hat. "You did everything by the book," he said. And he left. I stepped into the house. Silence. No overdue bills. No sudden requests. No obligations. Just the quiet. I walked room to room. Everything familiar. Everything mine. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. I felt free. The house was mine now. Not in some abstract or symbolic way, but legally, physically, undeniably mine. I stood inside the quiet, sun-drenched living room of the home I had helped buy. The furniture was the same. The faint smell of my father's coffee still lingered in the air. A family portrait still hung on the hallway wall, all 5 of us smiling like nothing had ever gone wrong. But now everything had changed. No voices asking for money. No unpaid bills in my inbox. No emergency texts, no veiled guilt trips. Just me, and the sound of my own breath in the space I was finally allowed to exist in. I walked slowly through the rooms, not because I was searching for anything, but because I was trying to understand how this place had once felt like someone else's. It was the same kitchen I had stocked, the same smart lights I had programmed, the same couch I had picked out on sale for my mother. And yet, I had always felt like a visitor in this home. Now I had the keys. Now I decided who stayed and who left. 3 days after the eviction, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. "Elise Larkin?" the voice said. "Yes. Who's calling?" "This is Daniel Harper, attorney for your parents and your brother. I represent their interests in the ongoing dispute." I sat on the edge of the bed. "I'm listening. My clients would like to avoid the petition sale. They're willing to offer a buyout of your ownership stake." I waited. He continued, "They can offer $67,000 for your 20% and an additional $14,000 toward the unpaid loans." I didn't laugh, but I wanted to. "That's not enough," I said. "The house is worth over $430,000. That's $86,000 minimum for my share. The unpaid loans exceed $27,000 plus interest." There was a long silence. Then, "So what's your total demand?" $111,000. Non-negotiable. "I'll relay that to my clients." He hung up. 3 days passed. Then a new message came in. From a different number. "Marcus, we're staying in a motel off the highway. Can you give us 60 days to figure this out?" I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, "You gave me 60 minutes of notice before your vacation. I'm giving you 6 weeks. That is generous." I hit send. Then I blocked the number. The next day, another number buzzed. It was my mother, messaging from her sister's phone. "Please, Elise. We just need a little more time. We will pay everything back. We'll fix this." I replied, "You removed me from the booking without a word. That told me everything I needed to know." Then I blocked that number too. 2 weeks later, I returned to Cedar Hollow Lodge. This time alone. No family car ahead of me. No anxiety about being canceled. No false hope for connection. Just me and the mountains, and a well-earned refund in my account. When I stepped into the lobby, the receptionist smiled in recognition. "Welcome back, Ms. Larkin," she said warmly. "We upgraded you to a premium balcony suite." The manager stepped out and shook my hand. "I hope this visit is more relaxing than the last." I smiled. "It already is." They handed me the key to Suite 207, the same suite my family had once enjoyed without me. I walked in alone, and it was perfect. The suite looked almost identical. The stone fireplace still flickered with soft light. The mountain view beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows stretched endlessly in shades of deep pine and sky blue. The hot tub on the balcony steamed, waiting. I opened a local beer from the minibar, stepped out onto the balcony, and let the wind touch my face. Then I took a photo, mountains, hot tub, peaceful sky. I posted it with a simple caption. "Sometimes you have to cancel the wrong people to confirm the right reservations." I didn't tag anyone. I didn't need to. Within hours, the post was flooded with likes and comments. Old classmates, former coworkers, distant relatives. Everyone wanted to know what had happened. Some guessed. Some knew the truth. Others asked in the comments if I was okay. I was more than okay. A few days later, a message appeared from Marcus's ex-girlfriend, Lacey. We hadn't spoken in years. Her message read, "Elise, is everything okay? I saw your post. Marcus told me you were being dramatic, but some of his friends say you paid for the house. For the trip. For everything." I responded, "That's correct." She replied minutes later. "He lied to everyone. He said you were unstable, that you cut yourself off." I told her the truth. A week later, they broke up. Marcus sent me a one-line text. "You ruined my relationship." I typed back, "No, you did." Then I blocked his new number too. 6 weeks after the lockout, Daniel Harper, the lawyer, called again. His tone had shifted. Less confident. Tired. "My clients have agreed to settle," he said. "They will offer $111,000 total, $86,000 for the buyout, $25,000 toward the unpaid loans. In full." I didn't hesitate. Accepted. Draft the paperwork. 3 days later, I received the certified documents. The cashier's check arrived by mail the next week. No note. No apology. Just silence. And for the first time, I welcomed it. Later that week, another message came from an unknown number. "My father. We hope you're happy now." For years ago, I would have cried. I would have written back paragraphs defending myself, trying to mend the damage, trying to explain. Now, I typed back, "I am." Then I blocked him too. I sat on the couch holding the check in my hands. $111,000. Money I should never have had to ask for. Money that didn't erase the hurt, but at least made it concrete. Closed. Done. For years, I had been afraid to take up space in my own family. I had silenced myself, bit my tongue, paid the bills, bridged the gaps, smiled through being forgotten. No more. I deposited the check, opened a long-term investment plan, and began building something that no one else could take from me, my own life. 3 months later, I ran into Mrs. Denvers, the neighbor who had lived across from my parents for 15 years. We bumped into each other at the grocery store parking lot. "Elise," she said, surprised. "It's been a while. Your parents still ask about you at church. They wonder if you'll ever come back around." I placed my groceries into the back of my car, then closed the trunk. She looked at me kindly. "What should I tell them?" I didn't hesitate. "Tell them no." She blinked. "Are you sure?" I smiled. "Very." 6 months after the eviction, I received a LinkedIn message from Marcus. It was long, rambling, full of excuses disguised as apologies. "I understand why you did what you did," he wrote. "I'm sorry. Maybe we can talk someday." I read it twice. Then I deleted it, because I knew what it really meant. He wasn't reaching out to make things right. He was reaching out because he wanted to feel okay. And I had finally learned. Not all apologies deserve access. People started asking me months later, "Don't you miss them?" Friends, colleagues, even my book club. They asked me if I ever felt lonely, if it was hard to walk away from my own family. I always gave the same answer. Loneliness is giving everything and getting nothing back. Loneliness is being invisible around people who claim to love you. Loneliness is sacrificing yourself and being called dramatic when you finally say no. I wasn't lonely anymore. I was free. One afternoon, I visited a financial advisor. I handed him my check stub and my story. He smiled. "You built their stability for years. Now it's time to build your own." And that's exactly what I did. I opened a savings plan, invested wisely, paid off my remaining student loans, updated my will, and for the first time since I was 24, I started planning a future that belonged to me. No strings, no debts, no family emergencies to bail out, just peace. I even booked another vacation, this time to the coast. A quiet beach town with blue waves and soft sand and zero family drama. At the travel agency, I smiled when they asked about the reservation name. "Elise Larkin," I said. "Single occupancy." When the agent asked if I needed any shared accommodations, I shook my head. "Just me. And that's perfect." The trip was quiet, healing. I walked barefoot along the shore, watching the sun slide into the sea. I thought about the version of me that used to exist, the overgiver, the apologizer, the always willing, always there girl who stayed silent to keep the peace. I don't recognize her anymore. She's not me. This version of me doesn't trade respect for love. She doesn't beg to be seen. She doesn't finance her own erasure. One night during the trip, I sat at a seaside cafe beside a retired couple whispering about their grown son. "He never calls," the father sighed. "I think we pushed him too far when he was younger." The mother nodded. "We should have treated him better when we had the chance." I stared out at the ocean. I didn't feel angry anymore. Not bitter. Not sad. I just understood something I never had before. Some people don't love you. They love what they can take from you. And when you stop giving, they show you who they really are. Mine did. And I finally believed it. Back home, my life became peaceful. I hiked on weekends. I started a small garden on my apartment balcony. I joined a community book club. I began dating someone kind. Someone who asked questions. Who listened. Who never made me feel like I needed to shrink to be loved. I filled my life with things that gave back. For the first time, I knew what it meant to rest. To exist without pressure. Without guilt. Without wondering what would be demanded of me next. I was no longer building someone else's safety net. I was building my own joy. One afternoon, I hung a framed photo of the Cedar Hollow Mountains in my living room. That place had once symbolized betrayal. Now it symbolized rebirth. Because that's where I realized the truth. I wasn't the broken one. I wasn't the problem. I was just the one who finally said enough. Years later, when people ask about my family, I don't flinch. I simply say, sometimes you have to let go of the people who taught you to abandon yourself. Because now I know, love shouldn't hurt more than it heals. Peace shouldn't be earned through sacrifice. And freedom? Freedom is walking away from those who never planned to walk beside you.